Hey guys, what's up? It's Charlie here, and today we're going to be looking at 10 famous advertising characters you know nothing about. So, we see people in advertisements every day, but we don't pay attention to them. But I'm sure you'll all recognize these famous advertising characters and learn some insane things about them. So guys, be sure to like the video and subscribe and comment I subscribed, and I'll try to reply to all of you. So, coming in at number 10, we have Kinder Boy. So we all know on Kinder Chocolate, they have an image of a kid with blonde hair and blue eyes smiling next to the chocolate. And the reason so many people remember this kid is because they haven't changed the photo in over 10 years. But obviously that photo was taken a while ago, and now the model is 21 years old. His name is Josh Bateson, and he's currently studying at college in England, where he's from. And after an article was published a few years ago called "The Kinder Boy is All Grown Up," he became famous on Instagram and now has over 142,000 followers. And I'm sure at college he's very famous there too. I mean, imagine finding out the Kinder Boy is in your class. Anyway, it turns out loads of people thought he was a millionaire because his face is on like every Kinder product. But no, Kinder actually only paid him $200 for the photo. But yeah, now this guy's getting very famous and a lot more modeling work because of everyone learning about his work for Kinder. But unlike some other child stars, he hasn't lost his looks. But coming up next, we have Gerber Baby. So if you've ever bought any baby food, it was probably from the brand Gerber. And one of the most famous logos in the world is the Gerber Baby. But who is the Gerber Baby? Well, it's actually this woman called Anne Cook. But she's been used as the Gerber logo since 1928. And now she's far from a baby because she's 91 years old. And the reason she's the logo is because Gerber was having a creative competition to design a new logo one year. And her neighbor, who was an artist, decided to ask Anne's parents to paint her and then submit it to the competition. So she sketched down and sent it off with a note that said she'd paint it properly if she won. Lazy. Anyway, the judges liked it so much they said to keep it as a sketch, and 86 years later they still have the same logo. But Anne never did any more modeling after that and is now a retired English teacher and mystery novelist. But next up we have Aunt Jemima. So this one is slightly darker. The chances are if you've ever been to a supermarket, you'll have seen Aunt Jemima's face. But this woman didn't used to be on the packaging, she used to just be on the adverts. But this advert was made back in 1893 when slavery was still very much a thing. Yeah, you see where I'm going with this? The whole point of Aunt Jemima was she was supposed to be a southern black slave. And many white families would have black women working for them as slaves, and the ones they allowed in the house and kitchen who did most of the cooking also looked after the kids. And because of that, they were often addressed as aunt. And if you don't believe me, the original drawing of her looked like this, which is obviously an inappropriate way to draw black people, and it even resembles the racist Gollywog toys. And the advertising wasn't much better, presenting Aunt Jemima as not talking properly and trying to give her a stereotypical accent, such as writing her words as I-e's instead of I am, and faux instead of for. But the illustration was later changed to another woman based on a model named Nancy Green, who was born a slave. They ditched the headscarf and drew her more accurately to how black people look. But even so, some people still find this very offensive, and the NAACP, which is a black rights group that Martin Luther King used to be a part of, still want this banned, but some people don't have an issue with it. But coming up next we have Colonel Sanders. So we all know that the guy who made KFC, called Colonel Sanders, loved his brand so much that he put his face on the logo, and now it's one of the most recognized drawn characters by American teens, behind Santa Claus and Ronald McDonald. And the cartoon is obviously based on the real Colonel Sanders who founded KFC in 1930. But even though this guy looks happy, he has a dark past. His dad died when he was 5 and he dropped out of school at 16. By the time he was 17, he'd had 4 jobs and lost them all. He got married at 18 and had a daughter a year later. Then when he was 20, his wife cheated on him and then left, taking the baby daughter with her. Then he got fired from another job and tried to kidnap his daughter but failed. And at age 65, he had to retire because he was too old to work, and he retired with only $106 to his name. He then got really depressed and even tried to kill himself, but then he realized he was great at one thing: cooking chicken. So he used 87 of that $106 and made some fried chicken using his own special recipe. He then sold it door to door to his neighbors for many years, and by the age of 88, he was a billionaire. And even though his life ended happily, it's still a very sad life story, but it just goes to show, don't give up, because when he was 65, he only had around $100, but when he was 88, he was a billionaire. But next up we have Marlboro Man. So I'm sure we all know Marlboro cigarettes, and while cigarettes can't advertise in a lot of places now, there used to be a mascot in all of the Marlboro adverts called Marlboro Man, which I'm sure some of you guys remember. Marlboro Man is a cowboy looking guy who seems to always be smoking a Marlboro cigarette, and the mascot became very famous and he's been used for over 40 years in Marlboro adverts. And he's so well known he took first place in the popular book 101 Most Influential People Who Never Live. And what a lot of people don't know is that Marlboro Man has actually been portrayed by 4 different different people. The 4 Marlboro men are Eric Lawson, Wayne David, John McLaren, and Dick Hammer. And yes, that is his real name. And ironically, all of these guys died from lung cancer, probably because they got a lifetime supply of cigarettes for doing the ads. But next up we have Milka the cow. So if you've ever bought a Milka chocolate bar, you probably remember this cow. And while most people just ignore this cow, it actually has a name and a very entertaining story. It's called Milka and the cow is actually real. And in one advert, the real cow is featured with the same purple markings as in the drawings. She was painted using a spray gun, and then the paint was washed off after the photos were taken. And the company kept paying the farmer who owns Milka $6,000 per year to make sure that Milka the cow lives in luxury. But next up we have the Jolly Green Giant. So I'm sure you guys all know the canned vegetable company Green Giant. Well, the interesting thing about this guy is that he was actually made just for legal reasons, and not because the company wanted a fun mascot for their product. The company used to be called Minnesota Valley Canning Company, and it wanted one of its varieties of peas that it sold to be labeled Green Giant, because they were green and really big, but they also wanted to trademark the name, but they weren't allowed, because the name was of 2 general descriptive words. But there was a loophole that they could trademark the name Green Giant if they had a character to go with it, so they created the Jolly Green Giant just for legal reasons. But then, as you know, the Jolly Green Giant got really popular and made the brand famous, and the character was so famous that people just started calling the company Green Giant. So in the 1950s, Minnesota Valley Canning Company officially changed its name to Green Giant. But next up we have Mr. Peanut. So if you've ever bought anything from the company Planters, I'm sure you'll know their mascot, Mr. Peanut. In fact, this mascot's so famous, we don't even have Planters in the UK, but I've still seen the Mr. Peanut mascot before. And because he was made back in 1916, which is over 100 years ago, he looks pretty old with a monocle and top hat. So in 2010, Planters invested millions in trying to make Mr. Peanut down with the kids. They even got the Iron Man actor Robert Downey Jr. to do his voice, and set up a Facebook and Twitter page just for the mascot. But they decided not to change the monocle and top hat because they didn't want to confuse people who know the brand. And I don't blame them, because this is one really famous mascot. But coming up next, we have the Spong Monkeys. So these ones are really interesting because of how bad and weird they are, and also because of how good they are. I know it sounds confusing, but I'll explain. So in 2011, the sandwich brand Quiznos wanted more internet advertising, so they made these things called the Spong Monkeys, which are basically rodent-like creatures with massive human eyes, and they put images and videos of these guys all over the internet. Some people loved them, and some, well, most people hated them, because they looked unappealing and badly made. I mean, who would want a rat with a human face to represent a sandwich? But lots of people missed the whole point with these guys, because it was an early example of viral marketing. Because these guys were so weird, they attracted a lot of attention and got people talking about Quiznos. And lo and behold, their sales went up massively because of these weird rodent things. Fair play, Quiznos, fair play. And next up we have Charlie the Tuna. No, that isn't the mascot for this channel. It's actually a marketing ploy by the company Starkist Tuna, and this is another marketing campaign that might seem bad but works really well. So Starkist Tuna used to run these adverts where a nasty looking tuna would be caught, and you might be thinking, why would they put an unappealing looking fish in a fish product advert? Well, after it was caught, the fisherman would say sorry Charlie and throw it back, and it was basically the company saying they only wanted the best quality fish. And surprisingly, this helped their sales massively, and now I bet the whole comment section is going to be filled with you guys saying sorry Charlie. Very funny, guys. But that just about wraps up this video. Check out the poll in the top right corner and you guys can vote for your favorite advertising character. But as always, thanks for watching. Check out some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe.